Hey there, so today we have another beer talk, and this is about sort of like my sort of experience of Treehouse. Like, I've been doing the beer channel for quite a while, and one of the early content that I had was, some of the early content I had was producing Treehouse videos, and I think that's part of the reason why the channel exploded for a minute. So I'm going all the way back to my early journey of enjoying craft beer. Probably been enjoying it for a couple years, maybe even less than 2 years at that point. Had done a Vermont trip in 2014 early, and then in September of 2014, actually visited Treehouse for the first time. So really fun, did research, you're looking for the top beers ever, and Julius was just climbing up the charts. They were, at that point, I think something about like 2 years or less than 2 years old, and they were just like in the middle of nowhere in Connecticut, and thankfully I live in Massachusetts, and I lived like 3 hours, like good drive you can do 3 hours, 3.5, something like that. So decided to take a trip, and like it's just a beautiful picture on Beer Advocate. I mean, I don't know if I can find that picture again, like with the old kind of like, it was just like a spooky, like dark picture with just like the ominous kind of treehouse symbol. Like, it's crazy that they have such good branding. Like, this was early on, and like whoever created this like needs an award, because like, it's like the Hill Farm Syndrome. It's just like you started a brewery, and like you just had like such an iconic, beautiful design, and like it's just beautiful. It's like absolutely gorgeous. And you can see the can right here. But so I visited first time, drove up, and that's when they had a little shack. They had a little shack, and went up. All they were doing, cans did not exist back then. They were just doing growler fills. You get 5 growler fills. You had to buy their Treehouse growlers. And a gentleman behind the bar was like, "Hey man, thanks for stopping by. Like, where are you from?" "I'm from New York." I was like, "Wow, you drove a long way for 5 growlers." I was like, "Yes, I did, sir." And so my first taste of Julius, and I did a review of it. I thought it was just as good as Susan. I think Susan was a little bit better from Hill Farmstead. And soon after that, I think the next month, I grabbed my friend Scott, who was in the videos back then. He also went up with us, and that's when I think I did my first Curiosity 8 video. And then out recently, I did 98. So it's been quite a while. It's been 6 years. So like, yeah, almost the day. September's coming up in a few months. So really fun experience. And since then, I've done multiple trips there. When I drove up to EBF, Extreme Beer Festival in Boston, I would stop by there. We picked up like a few cans of green. I think like literally it's like a 6-can limit. I remember sending Joe's Arcade, one of my favorite beer review channels, and his first green, and got blown away by that. And I got blown away by that beer. And like my answer for what's your favorite beer was literally that beer, when I remember how it used to taste 4 years ago, right? Got to pick up Good Morning too, which also was one of the top beers of all time. I think that hit #1 at some point. That's their take on like maple imperial stout, and just had many fun experiences. Honestly, the best experience though is the Treehouse Anniversary #4. I think it was 4 of us were able to go to the brewery, and actually so. Including many trips, they also opened up a 30-barrel system, which is like literally across the street around the corner. And so that was a fun one. Was able to pick up cans there, but like even then it was like limited here and there. But they threw a beer festival there for their anniversary, and getting that was absolutely awesome. Got to win lottery on that one, and just the best beer festival I've ever been to. You got to drink all the crazies. Is Julius, King Julius, very hazy. Like everything crazy, and that's like some of the prime Treehouse beers at any moment. Got to enjoy that. Got to talk with Nate. Got to just great time. Got to try out all the crazy variations of stouts that they're doing, because like pretty much what was happening was that initially you'd get like these crazy pours of their happy stuff, but then the limited one-offs of their vanilla stout, different treatments of their vanilla imperial stout was like just coming out periodically, so you have to wait online just to find out what was going on. Just an absolutely crazy time, just like the funnest experience ever. The beer could not be better. It also came with food too, and it wasn't overly crowded, and like at some point actually you only get 8 tickets, but honestly 8 tickets at like, I think they're doing 6 to 8 ounce pours for I want to say a 4 or 5 hour festival. 8 tickets will get you there. And then at some point, like, towards the end of it, people were just like, "Hey, like, we don't want these tickets anymore." And then like, it was just an absolute blast. And then I remember just sleeping a lot, because like that was a long afternoon. So, and the other crazy thing, this is before the time of Uber and Lyft. So like, we had to figure out how to drive, because we didn't have a DD. Like, who's gonna like DD? Like, I mean, I don't know what kind of saints are out there. Like, people that have partners that are willing to drive you everywhere, but we didn't have a DD. So we had to obviously take a cab, and like we're in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. So this is before Uber and Lyft was readily accessible. So we like literally had to like Google white pages, find this really awesome, nice lady that was in the middle of Walmart while she was shopping, willing to give us a ride there. And then was willing to pick us up as well. And she actually waited out there while the festival, ended up, lingering a bit. They weren't like, hey, it's like I think it's 4 or 5 o'clock. Get the hell out of here. You linger a little bit. Really nice lady. It was like absolutely crazy that like, you're looking at local cab services. Now that business, I assume, is absolutely obsolete now because now you have Uber and Lyft. And even though I live in the middle of nowhere now, you still can use Uber and Lyft. So one of my favorite beer experiences, one of my easily the best beer festival I've been to, other than EBF, is actually pretty up there. And so just like fun experiences. And then since then, the beer got really good in New York, started working a lot, and just didn't have free time to just drive up to Charlton. So they opened up that large facility, and I actually have never been. So it's been like, a few years now. I want to say less than a few years now that they've been open. I've never visited that, but I have been able to try Treehouse in the meantime, and some of them really impressed me. I've had beers that do taste like the old school Treehouse. I will say that these batches generally of Treehouse beer, hoppy wise, are just they're just an evolution of the beer. I just don't think they're making the same exact beer anymore. Granted, like Haze, Julius, and Green are like somewhat what I remember, right? Like they're not completely different beers. Like, wow, like this seems like a beer that a completely different brewery made. They're hints of what those beers were, but they're just like a little bit different. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. And I actually think someone posted in the comments like, when you expand to a larger facility. So one of the interesting things to think about Treehouse is that Treehouse has to be one of the largest New England IPA producers in the world. Like we're talking about tiny brewers that are doing 5 growler fills and then doing like 6 can limits on some of their beers, 30 bottle brew house, and now it's just like ginormous. Now it's like, they're producing more than, arguably like some really large regional breweries, because those larger regional breweries are producing other beers as well. I'd actually be very curious about the numbers versus like, how much does Treehouse produce versus Sam Adams, New England IPA, or Boston Beer Company's New England IPA, or Hazy Little Thing. I mean, granted, Hazy Little Thing probably is a lot. Or like something like Hazy Voodoo Ranger, right? Like Treehouse produces a lot of beer. And so for my not having the same exact beer that, I had on that little system 6 years ago, I'm cool with that, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are able to enjoy Treehouse now. They're able to show up, trade their cans away, have big allotments, and like they're able to taste world-class New England IPA. And even though this glass right here is not what I tasted at the anniversary, it is still delicious New England IPA. It's definitely to the palate, I would argue, of what New England IPA tastes now. It's just a different kind of beer. So fun stuff. The beer is still very enjoyable, and those are some of the greatest memories that I will have of beer, and just fun time. So just waxing nostalgic and beer talk. Until next time, guys, cheers. Post in comments below if you have any cool stories. I would love to hear your stories about your Treehouse stories later.